Almost there, folks. Again, I'm just working on some admin on the background, trying to get this going live on Facebook. Perfect. All right, welcome. If you're just joining us, or if you are tuning in via the recording, or if you just jumped onto Facebook, welcome. This is just a little deal session that we're doing. So for those of you that are on with us, many of us are a part of a community of real estate investors that is nationwide, and this is one way that we are choosing to connect with everything that's going on right now, share deals that are happening in the marketplace, stuff that's been done, stuff that's being done, and just continue to inspire and lift each other. This is very much a pay it forward type of community. And for those of you who are guests that are just chiming in and are not members with us, we welcome you to just kind of take a sneak peek and see what we're doing. Get to meet some of us, at least virtually, and see some of the deals that are happening out there in the marketplace. So I'm going to switch over and I'm actually going to share my PowerPoint. And right here. So let's start off by getting this PowerPoint going. First thing is, I'm not licensed. I'm not a licensed attorney, accountant. I'm not a financial planner. I don't have my esthetician's license. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a tribal chief. I'm none of those things. And anybody that's sharing here today is going to say the same thing. So even if they do have specific licenses, they are not practicing with those licenses on the webinar today. So please understand that everything that we share here today are examples, and these are examples of when money was made by applying real estate investing strategies. In no way is this a representation of a typical result or a result that another real estate investor will experience. I think you guys all understand this stuff. There is no magic bullet, and somebody else's success has nothing to do with your success. Real estate investment results depend on a variety of factors unique to each opportunity. These examples do not guarantee or predict similar results in the past, present, future of real estate investment opportunities. Each real estate investment result is unique as real estate itself. So now that I got that out of the way, again, I want to jump right into things, and I actually want to share by bringing out a gentleman that I met, I think it was about 6 years ago. He'll probably correct me. He knows time frames better than I do. But when I met him, he was really wanting to get started in real estate investing. He had never done real estate in his life. In fact, he hadn't even bought his first house. And he was one of those guys that he had to see everything else that was out there before he could make a decision on which path he was going to take to learn real estate. And after spending thousands of dollars and lots of time and almost doing a couple of bad deals, he decided to join our community of real estate investors. Me and him worked side by side on his first couple of deals. After that, he took off running. And I'll tell you, this guy is, he's just a go-getter. He's also very conservative in nature. So it took him, a good amount of time and a heck of a lot of money stacked in the bank before he was willing to quit his full-time job. And it's something that I really respect about Tim, because Tim is a guy who just quite frankly, he cares so much about his family, so much about the people in his life, and it shows through his actions. So Tim, I'm going to let you come on out. You can talk about this deal. Let me know when to switch to the next slide and share a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, thank you. I didn't know who you were talking about. I'm like, wait, that can't be me. Well, just to correct you, I didn't spend thousands of dollars. I could see how I can easily have spent thousands of dollars doing it what I would call the freeway, like going to different events and things like that, and trying to learn what I wanted to learn. But I can go into that a little bit. But just a little bit about me. I started, first of all, graduating into a time when there was a hiring freeze. Almost, it seems like that's what's going on like right now. So I kind of feel bad for those people going and who are graduating this year. But maybe that'll give them a kick in the butt to make them think about what can I do to be able to create my own job, or to be able to put myself out there and still make money. Just a second. Yep. One thing about having a home office, you still got little kids in the background. Let me see. Can you guys hear that? Just make sure. Yeah, you can hear it. Okay. So let me do this. Christian, do you mind taking the
We
slide? I'm
can.
just going to see if I can get my son. Look at my wife to take my kid real quick.
Not a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump forward over to Ferry. So we'll come back to you, Tim.
Okay.
I'm going to put you on mute, and we'll jump over to Ferry. One thing I love about this, folks, this is real people, right? This is, really what's going on. And one of the things I love about this is everyday folks that are succeeding. So let me skip forward here.
So I don't have kids, but there's no mute button on a kid. Can't you just?
Well, is there a mute button on your dog?
No.
That should answer your question.
Okay. All right, good enough.
Yeah, it's called duct tape.
Okay. See?
All right, let me bring out Ferry. Ferry and Grace may be sharing with you. I'm not sure, but Ferry and Grace are a couple that I have a tremendous amount of respect for. We met actually in Washington when I was out there doing a speaking engagement for the community, and then they came into Utah and they actually spent some time. We got to hang out together, go look at some of the deals that I was doing, and we've just built a friendship. And a lot of it is kind of a long distance friendship, but I feel close to these guys. I really respect what they're doing in the marketplace. And Ferry, I'll just let you take it. Let me know as I click through the slides how I can help.
All right, thanks, Christian. You can just keep clicking. So, Christian, you're awesome, man. Like I always look for you every time I visit Utah because you're the go-to man. You're awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate your friendship, and I really Grace and I really cherish it together. So, thank you. So yeah, okay, you're clicking too fast, but okay. I'm a husband and father of two great kids. I call them Alpha and Omega. So beginning and the end, as you might some of you know. So that's it for us, right? Just two kids. So I was a 2013 Magic the Gathering champions. It's a trading card games. So some of you folks that knows about the game might know it's pretty cool. But it's just one of my hobby. And I've been entrepreneur for 19 years. So I know I've been to different business ventures, and I owned Apple stores at one of the stages in my life. Not only one, like at one stage there was about 6 stores, and it's been really great for me as a business-wise. And I've started investing in real estate in the property in 2017. So I've done 12 real estate transactions in different states: Washington, California, and Georgia. And also I have 5 rental properties in Illinois and Indiana. So I've been working and trained with about 90 people closely in my team. And also I'm part of this nationwide community of people, which I'm really blessed to be a part of. So next slide. Press. Okay. All right. So tonight I'd like to talk about this first deal, this amazing deal that that I experienced since I start with this community. So after I moved here to Seattle, I have no idea about real estate, right? So, but I knew Grace and I we're looking for somewhere where we can learn about real estate, how we can apply our, let's say, our capital that we save up as a business with previous business, so we can make money in real estate. It's been a passion of us, so we're looking for some sort of educations. So we went to real estate seminars, paid some program into the guru seminars and stuff, but we end up not doing anything because we don't get any help, right? So it's really struggling for us back then because like we couldn't work, we couldn't make any income, so we just live by our savings. So moving fast forwards about 4 months after we being in the community, we learned about what needs to be done. We learned about how I find and calculate the properties, like the deal analysis and stuff. So someone answered my roadside sign. So it's pretty cool that we've been taught about how to promote yourself, um, how to find deals, basically, right? Off market deals. So I put a sign, and one day someone called me out. So they reach out to me and say, hey, I'm in situations, I'm in pre-foreclosures. I'm not, my family and I couldn't afford to pay the mortgage anymore. It's been we were late a few months. They they're behind about $20,000. 10,000 of them actually in the utility bills. Like, wow, right? So after having these connections, conversations, asking what they want and everything. So basically, the owners just want $100,000. So we assess the value of the house. We do some our due diligence research and thing. So we decide the property value at the time was about $270,000, and the ARV at the time was to 675. So there's quite a big gap that we can make something out of it, right? So the potential profit of that deal alone is $176,000, which is huge margin, right? But how can I pull it off? I had no money, no resources, no experience. But what I have was, and what I have right now as well, still a knowledge and Ronaldo's community. That was huge, right? So just think about a new person, a newbie, being in real estate, learned their stuff, the knowledge, educate themselves, whatever. But how can you pull it off? It's really hard. But that's why I'm really feeling blessed that I found this community. So I got the knowledge and I got the resources. I got the money, not my own money, but someone else in the community. I got no resources, but someone else has the resources and the experience. Right? So I'm using other people's money, resources, experience on my first deal on this one. So what we came out with after we discuss it, we strategize, okay, how to pull it off, like make it the most efficient way as possible. We come up with this strategy. It's called Lease Options. So we work with the owners. So because the owners want 100,000, but not right away. So that the lease option, that's a strategy that we thought the best way to play it out, right? So we end up planning on a 50-50 profit split after the property is sold. So we purchased it for $270,000 on paper. That means we don't really pay it, right? We didn't pay it outright. We just lease it. We paid monthly. I believe the mortgage was about $700 a month. So our holding cost is pretty low. So the construction cost $150,000, right? So the holding cost for about 4 months project is about, the total is $25,000. So the purchase price, 270, that's included the $100,000 that the owner wants, right? So just keep in mind, so $100,000, that's guaranteed. So 4 months after, so that's what happened, right? If you can see the slides, that's the left side are the before pictures, on the right side is the after. So we turned a really messy, a hoard. It was a hoarding house. The person, the family who lived there, been living there and have kept so much stuff. And the backyard was like jungles. And we clean it up, we make it happen. And after 4 months, we listed for 699 because I remember our ARV 675. But after a few months, it actually appreciated. At the time, it was a great market in Seattle. So we listed for 699. We sold it for 835. So it was sold so much more than what we anticipated. Like, what the heck, right? And so the closing cost, so there's these numbers, right? The closing cost is $40,000. The net profit of this project was $350,000. So from 50, remember the 50-50 split. So the owners get 175 extra on top of the $100,000 that they want initially. So the owners get $275,000 instead of 100,000. So they were ecstatic, right? And our partners and I, we got 175 split between us. So the owners want 100 and get 275. And when we estimate in the beginning, we thought we are going to make about 88,000. We end up getting 175,000, and no money out of our pocket.
That is a good surprise, my friend.
Yes, right? Yeah, it was really awesome. Like it was one of the oh, you can click on the click on the slides again. When you click the slides, it will show the summary of what happened.
Oh, whoops.
Oh, okay. Well, it is the next slide. So the next slide, oh, I'll go back.
This one?
No, go back. One more.
This one.
Yes. So if you notice, this is what the, okay.
Oops.
Oops.
You seeing it there? That's what you're looking for?
No, after this. So this is the summary on the right side. No money out of pocket, right?
Yes.
Okay. So next slide. All right. So this is the fact. Like I want to show you guys. This is a real deal, guys. And if you notice on the right side, just click one time on the right corner on the right side. Is 2 Redfin tours. If in fact, when we listed, not even a day, it was under contract. So it was that good. Like the market was that good. So one day, not even one day, and under contract for $135,000 over the listing price. So it was like really nice surprise. All right,
That is
next.
killer.
Yeah.
So Ferry, with that, because we are going to have to move on just for time's sake, we have so many people on here. If there was one piece of advice of what you're doing right now in the market to stay relevant, what is it?
Keep doing what you're doing, because the market, as you know, even though a lot of people got scared about what's going on with the market, there's always opportunity, right? In fact, today Grace and I went to one of our contact and look at this a condo in one of the high-end area in Bellevue near Seattle. It's a potential about $50,000 profit to be made. So always an options, right? It's always opportunity out there.
Yeah, keep doing what's working, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you, Ferry. Appreciate you coming out. Appreciate you sharing.
You bet.
And folks, we are going to move on, and we're actually going to move on to Sandra Ostrander. And Sandra, I don't want to take any of your thunder, but I do want to say, every time I get to see you, every time we're around each other, it's usually in a foreign country, first of all, but every time we just have a blast, and I've had such a good connection with you, in who you are as a person and what you're doing in business. You are the queen of $10 down deals. So
that's what they call me.
That's been your title for a while now, and you're just still doing it. So I'm not going to say anything else. I'm just going to let you take over and share.
Okay, cool. Well, my name is Sandra. Nice to see you guys on. They call me the queen of $10 down deals in this community because my very first deal, I ended up, which we're going to show you in just a second, I ended up acquiring it on owner finance for $10 down. And when I first started, I had bad credit and no money, literally like a 503 credit score and negative $26 in my checking account. So when I found this investor community, I was just trying to figure out how I was going to do deals because I had literally spent 18 years trying to get into this business. And you'll see that picture of me sitting with those plastic tubs. That's 6 plastic tubs full of books, tapes, CDs, you name it. I bought it trying to get into real estate investing. The only thing I got out of those 6 boxes was 2 trips through bankruptcy court. So I tried really hard to do the deals, and unfortunately, I never did a successful deal at all. So you go ahead and go to the next slide. So my very first deal, which I'm going to show you as soon as he clicks over. There we go. Okay. So this was the very first deal that I ever did. This is kind of where it all started. Literally my first deal out of the gate. When I was learning to do this stuff and taking my, going through the trainings and stuff, I was trying to figure out, okay, my weaknesses were bad credit and no money. So if I was going to do this business, I had to figure out how to get around that. So I focused on some certain classes, and I ended up finding this particular property at an estate sale. I like getting properties from estate sales because people are either passed away or downsizing or going into a home, and the families usually inherit these properties, and a lot of times they get them and they don't want them. It's a big headache for them. So I get in touch with the estate sale company owners, and I say, hey, if you can connect me with the owner, I would, be interested in potentially buying the house. So this particular house, when I found and met the lady, she wanted $205,000 for the house. And it was in great condition on the outside, but on the inside, it looked like 1980s. And some of the rooms looked like 1960s with the green tubs, the green carpet, green sinks, you get it. So I was like, okay, so let me see what I can do. So I went back, called a few people in the community, researched a little bit, and I told the lady that I would need to call and do some more due diligence because I was really struggling finding comps because this was a house that was 3-bedroom, 2-bath in a subdivision on 4 acres of land. So trying to find a house in a subdivision on acreage was difficult to comp down here. So because, you'll find houses on 1 acre or whatever, but usually no more than that in a subdivision. So I told her she would need to get an appraisal. And again, I didn't have the money to pay for that. So I negotiated her to pay for it. And the appraisal came back at $165,000. When I presented her with the appraisal, the after repair value, according to the appraiser, was $230,000. So when she saw that, she was like, well, there's no way my house is worth $165,000. It's worth more. I just know it. He's wrong. So I was like, okay, fine. So let me see what I can come up with. So even if my thought is even if I paid her $165,000, the house needed over $40,000 worth of work. And a lot of people, when I talk about this deal, sometimes to new people, they're like, well, it's $165,000 plus 40, that's 205. You still got $25,000 in equity. Well, a lot of people don't take into consideration, you got closing costs, holding costs, selling costs, all these other costs that go into effect. And when you start deducting all that, there's no profit left over. So most people would have walked away from this deal because there was no money to be made. But my thought was, let's think outside the box and get creative. There has to be a way to make money here. So I did my research and realized that I could lease option this house for $13.95 a month. So when I realized how much I could get in rent, I went back to the seller and I said, hey, would you be willing to carry back a contract for deed owner finance type situation? and I'll make you a monthly payment for $939.38. So I'll pay you $175,000, but the note would be $174,990. So after some going back and forth, she agreed to the $10 down, and I started to. We signed the contract, and then I had an agent list it. We had a tenant in one day, which was pretty good. So the tenant ended up, we set the price on the lease option for $205. So with the down payment and the prepaid rent, all this other stuff, I had gotten over $7,000 within 3 weeks from the beginning of this deal. Well, when the time came, my positive cash flow on this property was $437 a month. And when you multiply, and again, I lease option for 3 years, but now Chris Wilson says don't go more than 2. So I don't go more than 2 now, but back then I did. So, the profit, my positive cash flow was 15,000 and some change, as you can see on the screen. And that's great. And that was great because I was making money, but I knew that there could be more. So because I set the purchase price at $205, when it was time to sell it 3 years later, the tenant was going to buy it from me. When we went to closing, I had to pay off the seller. So at closing, I owed her what was called a balloon payment, and I paid her off $167,000 and some change, which left $32,218 left over. So if you take the check that was received at closing plus the cash flow that I received over a 3-year period of time, I ended up profiting $52,950 on a house that I paid $10,000 more than it was worth the day I bought it. This ended up being so unreal. And again, results aren't typical because, I was thinking, man, I probably can't do this twice. Well, I've been involved in this community for 5 years, and I've been able to complete 52 of these $10 down transactions during that period of time. And I literally never paid more than $10 out of pocket, period. So when I tell you it can be done, I'm living proof that it can be done. So Christian, if you'll switch to the other last slide. So this is my absolute favorite deal I wanted to share with you guys. This is my new house. I've gone from 1,200 square feet to over 11,000 square feet. And that's only 2 floors that are finished. The other 2 floors, once we finish, will have almost 40,000 square feet. And people go, what do you need a 40,000 square foot mansion for? Well, first of all, it's a mansion. And second of all, the house makes me money. When I found this house, when we met the seller, we spent 3 hours talking to him. And the key to this whole deal was listening to him and paying attention to his problems. He was telling us everything that he could not do and why he needed to sell immediately. So we made him an offer for owner finance, but he took a lease option on this property. And during this period of time, when we were talking to him and negotiating this house, he told us how he was doing Airbnb in the property. There's an apartment on the grounds, and he was renting it out through Airbnb. He was renting out some other rooms. He's had events there, movies have been filmed there, TV shows have been filmed there. And since we moved in May of last year, our expenses on this house are a little over $15,000 a month. And there's 2 months, not 3, 2 months that we've actually had to pay more than $2,000 out of pocket. Everything else, we've always been right around $2,000, which was just like a regular house payment for anybody else. So in the city that I live in, we're allowed to utilize a residential property 25% for business. So this house being so large, our goal is to finish out more rooms so that we can increase the square footage and have more room to do business with this house and live here. So it's pretty cool. But that's my favorite deal. But the coolest part of this whole deal was we negotiated all the furniture to stay. So it came completely furnished. And we asked the guy to leave his 2019 Toyota Highlander because we wanted it. And he agreed. We agreed to pay the payment because he was going to lose money if he shipped it overseas, which is where he was having to move to. And he couldn't sell it because he had just bought it at decreased value when it drove off the lot. And by knowing these things, my thought was, your problem is you got a car you can't get rid of. So I can solve that problem by taking it over for you. So I was able to, even though I make the monthly payment on the car and have my insurance, I got a brand new 2019 Highlander that I didn't have to use credit to buy. And I can pay it off at any time that I want. So that's pretty cool. So that's probably why this is my most favorite deal.
That is such a cool deal. First of all, you get to live in this place.
Yeah.
All that furniture was probably, it would cost you, $50,000 to $100,000 just to furnish a place that big.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
So,
it was awesome. I absolutely love this business. And anybody that wants to get into real estate investing, I can tell you right now, our community is the best, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I will agree with you. And then I'm going to have you leave with a final thought as well, as short as you can. What's the one piece of advice you can leave for people right now to stay relevant in today's market?
To stay relevant in today's market is to, realistically, deals are there to be found. You just have to pay attention to the sellers and what they're telling you, because they're telling you the reason they want to sell you that house. So it's key to pay attention, take notes, and listen to what they're telling you, because that's the way you're going to be able to negotiate the deal.
Awesome. Listen more than we talk.
That's right.
Sandra, thank you so much for
Christian.
sharing. Appreciate you. All right, folks, we're going to continue on here, and we're actually going to jump over to Utah, right where I'm at, with Mike Kessler. And Mike is just going to go through a little bit of a story on wholesaling. This is something that he's been doing, and he just shifted to this strategy. He actually has been an expert in mobile homes for the majority of his career in real estate. He's now gotten into wholesaling, and he's doing some amazing things. And so, Mike, I'd love you to come out and just take it away. Give us about 5 minutes, and let me know when to click through the slides.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me jump in and share a few things about it. A little bit of history about me and what we do. I started real estate actually years ago. So mobile homes has actually been a strategy that helped me basically quit my W-2 job. I had a W-2 job from basically up until about 2014. And I started investing in mobile home properties, which allowed me to create cash flow. And once I learned how to create cash flow, it allowed me to replace my income, and now allowed me to become full-time in real estate. So that's basically how I became full-time in real estate, was from definitely the manufactured homes. But like as Christian was saying, I switched over to wholesaling, not because the manufactured home business isn't great. Like, it's been amazing. In fact, we bought more manufactured homes the last couple of years. But I just switched over to wholesaling because I found that in my business, I was missing something. I was missing a key part of learning how to basically source and find deeply discounted properties, not just one time or two times, but like all the time. And so I figured if I want to find and source deeply discounted properties, I might as well learn how to wholesale them, because that's the business. Is the wholesaling is the art of finding deeply discounted properties, and so that's what we do. So I just switched over. I'm about 15 months into the business now, full time, and we had an amazing year last year. This year so far, we had our best month last month. It was an amazing month, and so today I'm going to share with everyone two of we did multiple deals last month, but just two of them. I'm going to share with you guys how we did them, how we found them. Right, that's the biggest thing is understanding how to find them. Anyone can literally do this, and that's on this first slide I wanted to bring up, because people think that when you get started in real estate, you have to have really good credit, you have to get loans, you have to have money to get started. But like the reality of these deals, I'm going to show you two deals where we made a considerable amount of money in a short time frame, but I literally used none of my credit, like nothing, no money out of my pocket to do these deals. I literally didn't touch a hammer. Like I there's no rehab involved. Like, it's so simple to do these types of transactions, because you don't need to be that, a construction professional. You don't need to be a professional estimator. You don't need to have a lot of stuff. It's really just understanding a few key things, which I'm going to go through for you. I'm going to give you the value of how to go out and literally replicate what I did on these two deals. You could go out there and do it tomorrow, like literally. Okay. So this first deal, now I wanted to show the real truth about these deals. So I hope you guys don't mind. I showed a couple of checks on here, not to boast. Like, this isn't saying, wow, great job, Mike. That's not what I'm asking for. I'm showing you guys is that this is real. Like, these are real. If you notice the date on that check, these are just a couple of weeks ago. Okay, so this is a real business, and we do this real time. So this particular deal, we literally found this property by just driving in front of it, and I wrote the address down. Like, that's how we found it. That's literally how this whole process started. And then the next step is, once you find the right property, you just got to get a hold of the homeowner. That's it. This home has been vacant, coming up to actually a year this month. It's been vacant. The homeowner had passed away in April of last year. The family didn't know what to do with it. And so, in fact, they literally just abandoned the home, and it's been sitting there, totally just sitting there. And so we ended up getting a hold of this homeowner by using direct mail. So we literally sent them a postcard. So off of a 38-cent postcard that we sent them, they called me up, and originally they said that they're like, hey, Mike, other investors have looked at this deal or looked at the property, and then they said that there's not a whole lot that we could do about it. So we've just gone ahead and just let the property go, and the bank can have it. And to me, I'm like, that's potential, right? Let's look into it and dive in a little bit deeper. And they allowed, once I built a little bit of a trust relationship with them, they started to open up and tell me the whole story. And so once we had found out where their current mortgage was at, then I knew we had an opportunity. And so once we did that, I found out they also needed to go through probate. And so that probate process, it does cost money. And the homeowner, remember, they just walked away from the house. And so they didn't want to pay a dime. They're like, Mike, I don't care what you do with it. Just, I do not want to come out of pocket with anything on this. So I said, okay, no problem. I'll cover the expense of the probate, but I'll do it at closing, right? So we'll cover that when we close on the property. And so we literally just closed on it just a few weeks ago. And this right here, if you want to go to the next slide. Oh, no, sorry. Okay, go back. I forgot my order of slides I put in there. But basically, we went to closing, and out of the closing documents, the attorney that handled the whole probate case, it cost $1,800 to do, was paid for at a closing, not out of my pocket. It was paid for at a closing. And so At the very, very end slide, I'm going to show you guys step by step how we physically do these deals. Now, we don't do just one of these deals at a time. Right now, if you look at the board behind me, we've got 6 deals in the works closing a transaction similar to this. And as you work your business and you follow a simple process over and over and over, you can just repeat this process. And the cool part is you don't have to do any remodel. Like, that's the part I just love. I flipped a lot of houses, but I'm really enjoying the fact that I don't have to do remodel. I'm actually a general contractor too. I grew up building houses. So you'd think I'd enjoy doing it. But the reality is I enjoy people. People are the business. And that's why, and that to me has been the best part about real estate, is I get to help so many people. So this family right here, they were super and extremely grateful that we were able to solve this whole problem. They've been actually kind of harassed by the lenders over the last 6 months. And so they're just glad to have it all done and behind them. They literally walked away. In fact, I took them out to dinner for their trouble and getting all this done. And they literally they're like, Mike, I wanted to just walk away from this. And they were so grateful that we can help them out. So that's why this business works, is because we can help people that don't know how to help themselves in these situations. All right, let's go to the next deal. So this second one, I'm going to talk about a deal that literally we found. Now, if you notice, I put a little orange thing. This is literally the phone number, the for sale by owner sign, how we found this deal. So that's the exact picture. I found it for you guys because this is how we found this one, right? We drove by the house, saw the for sale by owner sign. You could tell that the home needed work and it was vacant, right? That's what we're looking for. So I literally called the for sale by owner sign, and we just, as you can see on that check number, right? We just closed this deal a few weeks ago, about 3.5 weeks ago. This property was over in the East Holiday area, and so it had a lot of value because of the location. But it's an old 1970s home, and it just needed a lot of work, a total overhaul. And but the cool part about this deal is that it didn't come from some fancy source, right? We didn't have to go through a real estate agent to find this. We don't have to know a whole lot. Like, who's seen a for sale by owner sign, right? I mean, we all have. So deals like this don't have to, take rocket science to create. All it took was just making a phone call. And then after I made that phone call, we did a little bit of work to find out the values and where we need to be at. I walked the property with the homeowner, and we made an offer. That's it. And guess what? The seller said, no way, I'm not going to take your offer. And then they listed the property. So they put it on the MLS. They tried to sell it on the MLS for like 3 months. But during that time, guess what I was doing? I followed up. I said, hey, how's it going? How's the property listing? Have you got a lot of showings, right? Trying to be optimistic for them, right? I'm trying to help them out. And then one Saturday morning, about a month ago, like once we had gotten the clear to purchase this and we got the contract, we basically closed this in about a week. So it was very, very quick after that. But prior to that, it was a Saturday morning. The seller texted me and said, Mike, I think we're ready to take your offer. Are you still good to purchase our property? And I'm like, I had to scroll through my text. I'm like, who is this? Which property is this I'm even talking about? It was so exciting. I was like, no way, I'm getting what it is to come back. So I texted him right back and I said, hey, let me double check my numbers to make sure everything looks good, because this has been a few months since we've discussed this. So it was a Saturday. It doesn't matter if it's a Saturday or if it's a Tuesday. If you've got a hot deal, you get on it, right? So so I looked at my numbers. Everything still looked really, really good. And I'm like, hey, if you feel good about it and you're willing to close at the 500, we're still ready to move forward. Can you make this work? And are you ready to sign the paperwork today? And he said, yes, let's do it. So I sent him the paperwork right then. I did it through an online digital signature. I use nowadays, since this whole virus thing, I do most of my contracts virtually now. I use a program called HelloSign. You get 3 contracts for free every month. If you're not using it, it's free. So check it out. That's what we use. We send it over to the seller. They sign the contract that day. And so if you want to go to the next slide, I'll show you guys the process. There we go. So we sent over the contract, and then once we got the contract, we send it out to our buyers list, and we got tons of buyers interested in this property because of the location and the price. Like, it was just a great opportunity for investors. And once we got a buyer committed to this deal, we literally just closed it. I mean, it was that quick. It was, it's a full cash transaction, not my cash, right? These are the other investors' cash that they're bringing to the deal. And I just get the money that's left over, right? So we ended up buying this thing for $500,000, and we sold it at $525. That check only shows $25,000. I collected a $5,000 deposit from them, but we made a total of $25 on that particular deal. But guys, this literally from calling a for sale by sign. Like, people don't realize that there are deals and opportunities just off of those for sale by owner signs. It's crazy, but we literally just closed it. There's the check just a few weeks ago. But what I wanted to make sure people understand is that you don't have to be like a professional investor and have tons of knowledge and experience to do this. It really is a simple step-by-step process. I've got it laid out right there for you. Find the house, talk to the homeowner, you make an offer. I followed up. That's all I did. I just followed up like crazy. Right? I made another offer at the very end. We got the contract, got my buyers in place, and we closed at a title company. Like, that's literally how we did it. And so for the month of March, we closed a total of 4 transactions in March, and we closed a little over 70,000 in just business in March. And April is looking very, very strong as well. So this business can be a repeatable business that you can do it month after month after month. I mean, how long does it take for you to make $72,000 at a W-2 job? I didn't make that in an entire year in 2014. I made less than that at my W-2 job in 2014. And I made that in 1 month, like crazy. It's verifiable. I'll show you the checks if you want. But the reality is anyone can do this. I'm no special person. All I am is I'm a guy that just likes to take action. I like to talk to people. That's the biggest thing. So hopefully that helps, gets people excited, because it's out there. There's a lot of opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I love it, Mike. And I mean, you're showing it that no matter what's happening in the market, there's always something that can be done. And you're actually continuing to increase your revenue, even though the whole world is basically shut down. Really proud of you for that. And, just grateful to know you and be a part of this community of real estate investors with you. And as we move to the next one, I've specifically put Sandra after Mike, because one thing that we have that's really unique about our community of investors is we have senior investors, people that have been doing it for a while, and then we have people that are coming up through the ranks that are just learning the process. And oftentimes you'll find that people create partnerships. Somebody has the knowledge and experience, somebody else has the time and the energy, and you match those two together, and oftentimes that turns into a win-win situation. And Sandra is just an amazing lady who I've gotten to know over the last little while. And, she came from very humble beginnings. And I don't want to take her story, but she thought there was only one way that she could make money, because she needed to have her kids with her all the time. And, she has broken the mold. And I'm so proud of the deals that she's done so far and the deals that she's currently working on. And every single time I see her, she is just such a positive ray of light to the people that are around her. So Sandra, I'd love for you to come out and share a little bit more about your story.
Wow, Christian, thank you so much. It's always hard to talk after all that introduction. You have been a light in my life, as every single person I have met in the community, always willing to help. And obviously you're one of them. and Mike is the other one. And I just listened, and I went and applied what I was been listening. I'm not gonna tell you I was scared because I was, but I still wanted to do it, and I wanted to see what happened if I get a deal or something. I was just, let's say I was bored, I was frustrated, and I wanted something different in my life. So this gave me excitement, and I went and applied what I learned. So things happen after you take action. So I just stay focused and committed to the process. So that's what I did, and that's what happened. So one of the deals that Mike was with me is I was door knocking on NODs. So those are foreclosures. So that's how I found the deal that I was very surprised, but they opened up to us, and that's how I got it. I mean, I was just door knocking, and the the owner was able to talk to me, and I couldn't believe it because I was like, oh my God, what do I do next? What do I do next? This is the one. So it's like, okay, now what I do? So I called Mike, and he came with me and guide me through the process, and that's how we got this deal. Yeah, the whole process took us around like probably 2 months, because it wasn't like an probate situation, and like Mike said, we didn't put any money of our pockets or anything like that. So it was just a matter of hiring a lawyer that worked the process of the probate, and then we wholesale the duplex. That's actually a duplex.
So you found it, you put it
Yeah.
under contract, you worked with a probate attorney, and then you turn around and sold that contract to somebody else. And you made how much money?
$43,000 with the partner.
Wow.
In 2 months.
I always have to coach Sandra to say more, because usually she'll just come up and say, oh yeah, I found a property and I made $40,000. And the next one you'll see, but I'll let her share. Remember, Sandra, you actually have to say this. You have to share with people, because some people aren't able to look at the screen right now. But talk about this deal right here.
Well, that's actually a house that I own. And I used to live in that house for like around 15 years. And I was, having problems with money all the time, and refinancing and all that. And little did I know that I was, starting over and over again. And I wasted too much money in that house. I still own that house, and I love that house, but because it gave me a lot. But once I learned how to apply one single strategy, it just turned everything around for me. It saved me around $170,000 in interest, and I pay my car loans in 3 months. I bought another house, and I put this one for rent, and that is cash flowing me now $400.
Awesome. And so that one strategy, I'm guessing velocity banking, allowed
Yes.
you to take this property, save $170,000 in interest, buy another house that you wanted to be in, and make $400 additional cash flow from the property that you were living in.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Sandra, and I forgot to ask this to Mike. So Mike, you're still off of mute. I'll let you come in after Sandra. Sandra, what is the one thing people can do to stay relevant in today's market?
Well, for me, it's just stay focused. Don't let the fear control you, because that is just like trying to to jump from one. The way I picture it is like there's a big puddle in front of me, and the other side of that puddle is like this big beach that I want to live in. And just because there's this big puddle in between, it doesn't let me get to that big destination because I'm afraid of what that's in that puddle. So sometimes there's nothing, it's just probably some fun. And that's what I say. It's like I just stay focused and I don't let the fear control me. I know there's a lot of things going on around, and I hope everybody is doing well and all that. You know, just stay safe, but don't let that control you. Right now, there's a lot of opportunities, and just keep focused and apply what you learn, and that's what I've been doing, and so far it has bring me a lot of let's say peace.
Yeah, stay focused, don't let fear control you, and just get out there and do it. So Mike, in a couple of sentences, what's the best thing that you can do to stay relevant in today's market?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I would say the two biggest things are learn. First of all, always be learning. If you're not reading a relevant book right now that improves this up here, then you're actually going the opposite direction. So you always need to be learning and growing. That's number one, is keeping that mindset positive. So much negative going on out there right now. Try not to listen to the news. Try not to listen to your neighbors or whoever that person is that brings that negativity in, and just control what you can control. Second thing is just take action. Like what Sandra was saying earlier, like it's so amazing to see her, you know, being so nervous when she first started. And I've heard her story many times, and I love hearing it every time I do, because I feel like that's the same for most of us, right? I know I was super nervous working on my first deal, like crazy nervous. And everyone is. So don't get afraid of doing that. But the most important thing is going out there and doing it, because you know where it's going to lead you to if you stick with it. Like what she was saying, stick with it and stay focused. That's the secret.
Awesome. And Sandra, I forgot, there's one more deal. This is a deal that you're currently working on. So give us the lowdown on this just real quick.
All right. This one I'm learning a lot. I know it has a lot of potential, but like I said, sometimes you gotta apply what you learn and recognize when it's a good deal for you. I know there's tons of money in it, but you gotta make sure that the person that is selling has the right to sell. So sometimes you find out that it's better not to get in those kind of deals.
Oh, is this one that you're walking away from now?
Yes.
All right. Well, here is a deal that she was working on and found out that she's no longer working on. I love it. Keep going. Keep doing it.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's move on to Bill. Bill is another guy that is just, I mean, this is a powerhouse investor. This is a guy that we are lucky to have as a part of our community of real estate investors. And he really helps lead the charge in a lot of ways. He's always serving, first of all, the Arizona community, but also the nationwide community in many different ways. And I missed an L in there. We were last minute throwing these slides in here. So Bill, guide me along a little bit. I unhid some of the slides. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to do that or not, because I just put all the slides in, but keep me on point here. Bill, you're the man. Come on out, share your deals.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for the invite. These stories are just amazing. These people on this call are amazing. This community is amazing. And brother, you are amazing. I mean, some of the things that you've done, you're very humble, and you're very generous with your time and your knowledge and your heart. And it shows when you put on these events like this and just want to share with people what you've witnessed, and so that they can see it too. And I'm blessed to be a part of it. So thank you, my friend, for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can, oh man, what did I send you, huh? So that is actually a flip I just did. My God, I must have sent you the wrong deal. So wait, go through this slide. I think this must have been stuck on. Is there another slide right after this one?
Yeah. So then there's
This
a
deal,
slide-
I just closed this deal. It was a pretty cool community flip. It was wholesale to me, you guys. I won't spend much time on it. I didn't even know I put that in there. I apologize, you guys. I'm about as computer literate as anything. I was just trying to cut like 5 slides out for one deal for you. But I just finished this deal. I closed in March. And the deal was wholesale to me by one of the members of the community. So it was a community deal. The money was raised by a guy I enrolled in the community as well. It was through his retirement account that he learned how to self-direct his retirement account. So it's just, it literally, everything about this deal is 100% community. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time with the right people, and was able to flip this house. Honestly, you guys, I made some mistakes on this house, and I should have netted about 60 grand, but it took longer to sell and more to fix than it should have. And so therefore I lost 20 grand in profit.
So you're telling me that you accidentally shared an extra deal that you closed this month, and you accidentally only made $40,000 instead of 60?
Yeah.
All right. So this is the deal that you were talking about.
Yeah, this is Sunnyside. The reason, so it's funny because most of you guys are showing current deals. There we go. Fortunately, I had a current deal. This deal's old, you guys. This deal, folks, the reason I picked this deal is because it is about getting started. So I was new, and I didn't really know how to find deals, or I was learning how to find deals, and I was working with the community. And again, I'm telling you, when you put yourself in an environment, I like to say that organically creates real estate. It's unbelievable, and I think that's what we've found with the Renatus communities all across the country. And so this girl was brand new, and she was on my team, and I was like, well, one thing I know is you can door knock. Here's a list. And so she actually, you guys, this girl was a go-getter too. She hired somebody off Craigslist and was going to pay them $500 for every deal that she was able to just get a seller in front of. And then if I bought the deal, she would pay them out of her pay from me. So she actually was knocking doors, and I taught her a little bit of what to say. I knocked doors with her, and I didn't know, you guys, how to knock doors at all until I studied Chris Wilson, and he taught me how to knock doors. And so he's one of our educators, and as you guys know, and so I walked it with them a couple times, and then they were off on their own, and she left a card, and this guy called back after, he wasn't home, or he didn't answer, and he called back from her business card. So she called me and said, someone called me up. They're interested in selling their house. And we started looking at the deal, and I met with them, and this house was a second free and clear house. He was actually in foreclosure on a list on his own house, but he wanted to keep his house. So there was really nothing to do with the house we knocked on. But as I sat down and talked to him, and I brought the person that was brand new, she was there at the restaurant with me and learning what to say and do, just sat in and listened. And he had brought his brother with him. And I, after asking questions, found out that he had this free and clear house. And so I was able to catch up his mortgage on his own house. I was able to actually do a loan modification for him on his own house, which saved his house. I caught up the mortgage for $6 grand, like it says. It was in foreclosure. It was less than a couple weeks away. I like to go after houses that on my NODs or NOTS, notice of trustee sale lists or notice of default list that I use. I like to go after them when they're very close, within 6 weeks of foreclosure. And so, the best part about this deal is we tied it up on what made sense based on looking at this house, and it was free and clear, except when I did a title search, and I was going to buy this, and I did buy this directly from him, like literally him giving me the title. However, I do use a title search always. And so I wasn't using escrow to close this house, but I was using title to do a title search. And there was a lien on the property because he had been withdrawing over $1 million from his retirement early to save his wife. when she had a deadly disease. And he unfortunately lost her to that disease and spent every last minute dime he ever had. And he had a lot of money from his job and his retirement accounts, but he never did taxes. He did like 3 out of 10 years. So the IRS put a lien on all of his properties in the amount of close to 76 grand. So on his behalf, and through a negotiations class and what I understood about short sales and just different strategies, I was able to negotiate the IRS to, did I write it down? The total due to the IRS was not 56. It ended up being about 79. And maybe if you go to the next slide, I think I negotiated the IRS lien for 16,000. And there's the before pictures. Yeah. There's the after, a little bit dated. You can see this flip was 2013, you guys, I think. But there's the after pictures. I tied it up for 46 grand. I paid 6,200 to catch up the mortgage. And I made a couple payments for him on his primary residence as well. He was just in bad shape. And I settled that IRS lien for 16 grand. It took me about a year while I rehabbed the property, there's some risk in that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I ended up selling this house. The market fortunately even went up a little bit while I was fixing it up and negotiating this lien. I didn't want to put too much money into the majority of the house, especially the finishes. If the IRS was going to make me settle for, 50 or 60 grand, I didn't want to put that much into it knowing. So I kind of waited over time, and over time the market was going up too. So it's kind of a cool little deal, but it took me about a year to finalize the IRS, and it was pretty exciting. So he got to put some good money in his pocket. I think I cleared about 30 grand into his pocket on everything after paying the IRS. And then I fixed it up and we sold that house immediately after putting it on the market, and it was done. And I made an $80,000 profit that day. It was my first $80,000 month. It actually was like a $90,000 month because I think I had another deal close that month.
Nice.
Yep. The coolest thing about this, you guys, is, and Sandra said this, is the relation. Everybody did. Mike Kessler, everybody talking to people, even Sandra, listening to folks. He was one of this guy was older and sicker, and he lost his wife, and I think he died partially when she died. And I took him out to breakfast every month. I paid for his dog grooming over the years. He became a friend of mine for years, just by default. He just called on me all the time when he was in trouble with his car and in trouble with the bill. He had a leaking faucet. He just, there was a lot of mental issues that were there in his house after his wife died and stuff. And unfortunately, he passed away. He just passed in July of this year, and it was a very sad day. But I was able to give him a better life for a few days. It sounds cheesy as hell, you guys. I get it, but at the time I made the 80 grand, it wasn't about becoming his friend. But you never know what happens. It was just cool. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And that is one thing about this business, is oftentimes we get that opportunity to just brighten people's life. Even though we're making money, we get to do things that we don't realize the burdens sometimes that we're lifting off of their shoulders.
I had one question that the owner deeded me the house. He did. I learned in the education that I studied through in the very beginning that I always get the deed even before. I did not record it due to the IRS. But I had the title notarized and signed. I could have recorded it at any time before I ever put a dollar into the house. I'm going to control that piece of paper. I put a lien on like an option on the property as well. So I did cloud the title, even though I had the paper title as well. And I was very cautious as I was moving through the negotiations as to how much money I was putting into the property, based on the fact that I could have ended up having to pay the IRS the full 79 grand in theory. So then I would have had to buy the house for 135, basically, if that makes sense.
Got it. So Bill, same question as everybody else. What do you do to stay relevant in today's marketplace?
So here's what I like. I've been waiting for this question, you guys. This is my thought. is the opportunity, and some people have already said this, to learn right now is incredible. I've heard every professional in the book talk about, I've been doing this 12 years and I don't know what the market's going to do. I'm doing a jumbo loan right now, and I know that jumbo loans are very difficult. I found a couple people that are still doing them, but a lot of major banks froze them up. I know hard money lenders right now that are not doing any money at all. I also got a guy who's got 25 million looking to put it into the market. So nobody knows what the market's going to do, in my opinion, whether it's going to go up, sideways, or down when the dust settles. I think if you're prepared and you can have the opportunity to study short sales, auctions, foreclosures, and wholesaling, good market, lease options, some of these creative financing deals could be abundant in the market, but no one has any idea. If you've got an opportunity in your downtime to study right now, I'm looking at what wholesalers are doing, but I'm not buying anything from wholesale. I'm not buying big properties right now. Easy cookie cutter under, in the 80% range, in that $250,000 range. Yeah, in Maricopa County, I'll flip it all day long. That never will go away, no matter what the market is. But anything else other than that, I'd be patient, prepare yourself as much knowledge as you can get in the next couple months, and be ready. There's not a person on this call, in my opinion, educated or not, being an investor or not, that would not have loved to have bought at least one more or 10 more or 100 more properties. I don't care if it was your first one in 2009 to 2016. And we may have that opportunity coming up again now, if not by 2021 or 2022. And if we're knowledgeable and we're in the market and we're working on paying down debt, if we're working on increasing our credit, paying down debt, leveraging private money lenders for the future to come up about, whether the future is near or even 6 months from now, you will be able to capitalize like no other, and you will not be on this webinar again. That's my thought.
Or you will, but you'll be sharing your deals.
Yeah.
That's our goal here, is if you're on here watching and you're not one of the ones participating and sharing your deals, our goal for you a month from today, 2 months from today, a year from today, is that you're the one on here sharing your deals, because this really is a pay it forward community. So thank you, Bill, for sharing and everything that you do again for this community. Let me skip back up to the top here, because Tim was one of the first people, and this is a guy that, he really embodies this of, paying it forward. And I love it because I get to see the progression, because I had somebody that taught me. I had a whole lot of people, I should say, that lifted me up when I was a steel worker, when I was, working 12 hours a day, sometimes 7 days a week to make less than $40,000 a year. And I wanted to be a real estate entrepreneur, but I was still living for the weekend and partying all the time. I had people that were willing to take me and help me become a better person and walk me through my first couple of deals. Well, Tim Vreeland is a guy that I got the chance to do that for him. And now I see him doing that for other people. So, Tim, I'm going to let you come out and share a little bit more about your deal again. Hopefully you're in a spot now where we can hear you and without the background noise. I love your kids.
They're in bed now, so thankfully. It's great. And then the very bottom corner, that's my family. We just took that over the weekend with the cherry blossoms. My wife's from Japan, and so I lived in Japan for about 5 years. So just walking down the Salt Lake Capitol building with those, beautiful. Guys, and thank you so much, by the way, for staying on the line, all you guys. It's amazing. I know we usually, whenever I host, whenever me or Christian or whatever, we host these webinars, they don't go more than an hour. And knowing that we have so many people here on the line, thank you so much. There's still, I hope you're going to get you will be getting some value, but hopefully you'll be able to kind of see some of the possibilities of some things that we're going to be talking about. Now, for me, just so you know, a little bit about me. I kind of said that I graduated during a hiring freeze in 2010, 11. And so it was really tough to find a job. When I came back, when I came back from Japan to come here to start my career, because I felt like I knew exactly what I wanted to do, I decided to go and just take even a job sweeping if I had to, and then work my way up the corporate ladder. And so I started working in a manufacturing environment at $9 an hour as a temp job. And during that, I just had a little voice in me saying, "Hey, look into real estate. Look into real estate." And I was looking into that. I read a book I'm sure a lot of you have read, which is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. and it kind of it planted that bug in me of looking into that. And so it took me a couple years. I looked into getting into real estate. How am I going to do it? I didn't want to do it. I knew that there's a lot of mistakes you can make. I hear about people who lose money. There's a lot of people out there who want to take advantage of people who are naive or just aren't watching. And so I didn't want to be that person that got swindled or sidelined because there was one line I didn't see, kind of a thing. So I was really worried about that. I wanted to make sure I did it. But yeah, so I found Renatus. I found the awesome team. I saw the value from the very first meeting, but it still took me a year to decide to go in, because it's like, oh, great. You know what? Let me just see if there's other things. One of the things that I kind of felt to myself was, you know what? I graduated. I have a degree. I studied. I'm the smart guy. Let's go ahead and do this. But then when I got in, as I was going through and I was kind of learning for myself, you really need like a mentor, somebody who knows more than you to help you along the way, to keep you out of trouble, as well as a community, because you want to rub shoulders with people who are doing what you're doing. Because if you're just doing this by yourself, if you're just surrounded by a bunch of people who think that your dream is dumb, or that you should go back into caves, go back in the coal mine, start working, or whatever it is, then it's going to be you're really going against a really tough current. And so you need to surround yourself with people who are there to encourage you. And so for me, like I told, like Christian said, it took me 6 years till I felt comfortable enough to quit my job, because I have right now with my family here, I've got 5 kids. I wanted to make sure they're all taken care of. I wanted to make sure that for me to cut that umbilical cord of the comfort that a W-2 job gives you. The banks like you, you feel like you got the insurance that you're paying, hundreds and hundreds, sometimes some people paying like $1,000 a month on. And so there's that. So there's one deal. So this deal I'm going to talk about really catapulted me to reach my financial goals. And so this was a fourplex, actually. So some of you kind of looking at how to get into multifamily. This is a multifamily deal that I got, and I got into this with no money out of my own pocket, just so you know. And at first, so I found this. This was in this was an email that I got it from a wholesaler. So we had a couple people who were talking about, you could wholesale. Well, I'm one of those investors that bought from a wholesaler. And this was on the wholesale list. In fact, this guy, wholesaler, was trying to sell this deal for 3 months, and nobody wanted it. As you can see some of these pictures on the before side, it looked really nasty, and for good reason. Yeah, so it looked really nasty. He had some bad tenants in there. In fact, one tenant was actually, I don't have the address on there, so you can't find it, but it was like basically one of these tenants was like meth dealers, whatever. They had these like black Cadillac Suburbans coming in, like handing him stuff undisclosed in a paper bag. And then at least that's what was kind of reported. And then a whole bunch of transient people will come at night. So, which I evicted them. It was really like trying to get like a monkey off your back. It was really tough for them. They tried to stay. I felt, it's not fun to evict people, but if you look on the purchase price, I bought it for $130,000 in a very creative way. One of the things is that this was an illegal, non-conforming fourplex. The homeowner was working with the city and of legalizing it, but it was just taking too much money. He just wanted to sell it, and so he was willing to sell it for $130,000. In which I paid $25,000 down. Of that, 10,000. Let's see, how much is that? 25, 20, about 10 grand of that was given to the wholesaler as a wholesale fee. But I didn't want to buy it for cash. I wanted. I negotiated for the wholesaler to put it into to have it as a seller finance. The homeowner or the seller owned it outright. He actually lived in Las Vegas, and so he was never really even there anyway. But he was good with that, because he was going to basically get $120,000 for his home. But I was going to give him $1,000 a month, interest only, until I sell the property, which I held on this for about 3 years in total. And he loved it, because I had a conversation with him, and he's like, I said, listen, like, do you know how much you've made so far since you've had this property? And he's like, oh, wow, thank you so much. He's made over 100, like what he got, he actually made more, like $176,000, $180,000. He's like, hey, thanks a lot, man. That's awesome. Now, because it was units, you have monthly income, really, really low, especially for downtown Salt Lake City. What I did was I improved everybody's quality of life. I made everything look nice. In fact, you've looked on that right side on the after photos. You know, I like as a tenant moved in, I went in there, made it look really nice, put everything in there, and then we had some really, really long-term tenants there as well. But I was able to increase the rents, and so I went from about a monthly net cash flow of about $300 up to almost $2,000. Just by doing that. Now, after I did that, let's see, because when I was thinking this was pretty much a crazy strategy, was that when it was seller financed, it was a contract for deed because we were working with the city. And I did not want to do anything with the like mess up the grandfather part of the fourplex, because this was, if you actually look to the left and the right of this property, it's all commercial. It's like one side is like it's like a big warehouse building. The other side is another warehouse building. And to the right, to the left, to the right, it's all warehouse. There's this one home in the midst of all this commercial land. So I didn't want to lose that that grandfather of the having it as a personal residence, because this is a cash cow. Look at this thing. This thing is amazing. And so I kept it. So I kept it in the owner's name. Got a contract for deed, which gave me every right to do whatever I wanted to do, to sign whatever I wanted to do as the owner, but did not accept that it was the deed was not held in my name. Isn't that crazy? So yeah, I did that so I could make sure that I could legalize the property correctly. And which after I legalized it, I wasn't in a hurry because it was doing great in cash flow. Once I did cash flow, actually, I can tell you a little story. There's once I moved all the people out, the meth people, whatever, the drug people, I tore everything down to the studs. And as I was working on that, the city came over, like poking around, saying, "Hey, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh, we're not." It kind of freaked me out because I didn't want the city to have to kind of get involved with this and stop me or whatever. So it took me a little bit longer on that side to get that done. But after it's done, legalized it, and then I went and I sold it, and I was able to sell it for $490,000. So picking up for $130,000, adding about 60 grand in rehab here and there, and most of that 60 grand didn't necessarily came from me either. As I was getting payments along the way, I guess I used some credit card money here. But after I sold it, I netted about $300,000. I don't think I have a slide for that, but and I was able to pay down a lot of debt with that, as well as put some money in the bank and invest in a couple other things for that to create more cash flow in my life. And but that was the money in the reserves that I felt like I needed to be able to say, okay, now let's do this full time. I've done about 30 plus real estate transactions, but this is really a big one. I'd love to find this one, once every week would be awesome. And I wish any one of you, like, just this deal just like this, I'm sure with anybody here, would change your life. And this all came from a wholesale list that I created a solution for the wholesaler, and it made everybody money. And especially me, I had the biggest risk involved in this. I own the property. I put all this money in. And so, but that's my story about this fourplex.
That's awesome. So the wholesaler that couldn't sell the property won because you showed him how to renegotiate it to make it to where you could buy it. The seller won because they got, free cash flow during the time and still got their purchase price in the end. And you made over 300 grand plus the cash flow along the way. Tim.
Yeah, that doesn't include the cash flow. Yeah, for me.
Yeah. That is awesome. Congratulations on quitting your job. I think that was a week ago now. So you're full-time real estate.
April 1st. And it was kind of scary because, if you can tell, like right now, there's people who are being left out their job. And I'm the one that I said, I volunteered to leave my job so I could do this full-time. So a little bit of excited, but still just make sure everything's going to be okay. Which it was.
So with that, I'll ask the same question to you. What what can we do to stay relevant in today's market?
I think people said some really good things. All you got to do, the people who win in real estate is the people who just keep buying. They buy in the ups, they buy during the downs. Just make sure you do your numbers, and you surround yourself with people who are there to help you and protect you, who have your best interest in heart. And I'm glad that I'm a part of a community that does that.
Yeah, and this community is so good for that. I mean, I have a deal right now that I'm working on that I'm trying to find solutions, and I can't tell you how many super successful investors are willing to take my call, work through ideas, talk through solutions, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have every single one of you that are on the line, and also the hundreds of other people that I know that are in the market, full-time investing and making great money that I can call on at any time. So one of those guys, or I should say two of those guys, but I think one of them is on the line here today, is Gamer and Ladero Wharf. And Ladero is going to come out. I actually wasn't able to get his slides in time, so I'm going to let him share his screen. I'm actually going to make you a co-host, Ladero. So as I'm getting to you, I just want to say, Ladero and Gamer have taken one strategy, which is short-term rentals. And I'm just trying to find you on the list here. And they've done some incredible things with it. They've built quite a business. And then this whole COVID-19 thing came. And you know what? They said, we're not going to lay down. We're not going to just, roll over. We're going to innovate. And so I wanted to bring them on this webinar specifically to talk about, if you're in the market and if you're working with short-term rentals, there are things you can do. You're going to have to adapt. And what a better way than to learn from somebody who has, I think, 20 plus units now. I'll make him a co-host, and then he can come out and he can share his slides and share a little bit about that. But Ladero, we're grateful to have you on. I'm grateful to know you. And I'd love for you to take it over from here for a little while.
There we go. Now, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Perfect. So I'll go ahead and get my screen shared. Continue. You guys are going to have to excuse my desktop. I normally have two screens on, but if I leave both of them on, we get confused here. So like Christian said, my name is Ladero Wharf. I'm super humbled to be invited onto the webinar. I feel like I'm playing in the big kids playground now, so it's pretty awesome to be invited on. So a little bit about myself. My spouse and I, we started a short-term rental business, and as everyone said, the COVID-19 thing happened, right? And so just to back up a little bit, tell you guys where I came from. I actually used to be a manager at Burger King and on and off call center jobs. So there's nothing special about me, like literally, you guys will see that, nothing at all. Let's see, there we go. And back in 2015, I was introduced to the group and I immersed myself in all things real estate, going to multiple house tours throughout the weekend, especially on the weekends, is devouring as much education as I could, and also just hanging around people that were doing something that I never knew I wanted to do. But as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a thing that I can do that's going to help me reach my goal, which, as simple as it may sound, but it was to quote unquote retire by the age of 35. I never knew how I was going to get there. I worked multiple jobs, ran multiple. If you guys are in Salt Lake, if you're in Utah, anywhere from Tooele all the way out to Draper, if you pass a Burger King anywhere in between there, I've probably worked there and managed there. So that's what I thought I was going to be able to do and retire. That was absolutely not the truth, right? And I learned that. So I got introduced to real estate and I was like, this is what I've been looking for. And I didn't even know I was looking for it. So back in 2015, I jumped into real estate and started getting immersed. We completed our first fix and flip. And I don't have any slides or any additional information on that because I'm here to talk about short-term rentals. But unlike everyone else that I did go earlier, I learned early on that fix and flips was not, it didn't jive with me. It was not where I fit in. As we like to say in the community, it was not my investor ID. And I was totally fine with that. I went through the experience. I learned a lot. And between my partners and I, which it was two other people, after that was finished, we profited $30,000. So I'm just going to be honest, it was pretty good payout for something I didn't like doing. So the power of real estate, right? And so then shortly after that, I jumped right into short-term rentals. That happened November of 2017, and I have not looked back since. Currently in my current inventory, which does fluctuate, I only have 15 units, but total since 2017 till today, I've had 28 units. And that's because we move out of some locations. I sold off 8 of those units. I've ended partnerships that we've had. And so that's why I'm down to 15 now. And let's go ahead over. And a lot of people, there's so many different ways of doing real estate out there that so many people have talked about before me. But the way that I've acquired all of my units up until this point is by doing all corporate leases. Yes, I know that we are able to raise capital and go and buy the building, but this is how I like to do it in a corporate lease strategy, because let's say if there's some unforeseen event that happens to rhyme with COVID-19, right? I'm joking, COVID-19, there's a lot of different options for us in our business versus if I would have purchased all 15 of these locations and I focused solely on short-term rentals, I would have had a little bit of harder time covering 15 mortgages, right? So I like to do the corporate lease model where my company goes in and we lease out a number of locations. Sometimes we lease out entire buildings just so we can have what we want in our inventory. And with that, I serve, when everything was normal, let's say, these are the people that I serve. And I won't read the whole list to bore you guys, but I just want to pick a few out. I like to serve business travelers, medical professionals, and because I'm in the realm of real estate, I do work with a lot of real estate agents to provide housing to their buyers, which a lot of people may not think about. They're like, oh, you're a vacation rentals. I'm like, no, I actually do provide homes to locals for a temporary basis while their new home is closing or while they're building their new home. So it's been a fun journey. And then all of a sudden, let me back up before that. This is what our cash flow looks like in this business. So on average, I have studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. And average per month per bedroom, we make about $500, except for in our 2 bedroom, just because they're because of the locations they're in. But on a monthly basis, we're looking at approximately, and this is average throughout the year, right? This is average. So every single month I do not hit these numbers, but based on our current inventory, we're averaging somewhere around $8,300 a month, which is awesome. I can't say it's a game changer. Let's say that it completely has changed the way I look at life. And the biggest thing about it, it's been able to change what I'm able to do for others, right? Because before, as many have mentioned, when I had a W-2 job, all of my time was spent working for someone else. One of my favorite parts about this allows me to be at home and work from home. Everyone's all, upset and crazy and mad because the world is shut down and you can't go anywhere. But I'm like, well, hey, I've been doing this since 2017. Like, this is my office. I don't leave unless I really need to, right? And so it wasn't a huge shift for me. But what it has allowed me to do is be able to coach and help 20 other local operators here in the Salt Lake City market do this same thing. And right now, because of this COVID-19 crisis that we're going through, a lot of us, as long as they're following the steps and as long as they're taking lead and doing stuff, we're just fine. And I'll show you guys how we're doing that, because everyone's like, my CPA literally told me I made the worst business decision of my life when we started doing this. Yes, I fired him and got a new one. I started working with someone who will believe in what I'm doing. And also there's a lot of other people, CPA, saying, hey, this jump out, burn the ships, get out of it now. And I'm here telling them, it's like, don't do it. Because if you have to, then sure. But if you're doing it just because of fear, I want to show you how you can make it through these uncertain times. So I just want to show you guys this next slide. This is before everything hit. This is specifically cancellations in our business. And for an entire calendar year, out of 1,000 bookings, 1,000 bookings, I only got 79 cancellations. And that's people canceling due to being ill, or they just can't make it anymore. Circumstances change. But fast forward, year to date, I've gotten, well, before, there we go. We're at 7.9 cancellation rate for the entire year. Fast forward year to date, I've gotten 40, I think that number is actually 49, I believe, since it didn't show up here, 49 cancellations since January 1st, which shot my cancellation rate up to 26.6%. And I don't want to bog you guys down with numbers, but I want to let you guys know, overnight, my business lost 12 grand, like overnight. And instead of like going into the media and following what everyone said, the number one thing we had to do is protect our mindset, because that's a huge thing in being a real estate investor, protecting one's mindset. I had to turn off all social media. I had to distance myself, even though we're supposed to be doing it anyway. I had to mentally and socially distance myself from everyone and start working on processes and ways and mastermind with the right people who can help us get through this. And that's what I've been doing since day one. And I don't have a slide for this, what I want to talk about, but all the revenue that we've lost has been 100% replaced, and we're getting closer to where we actually normally operate, which in the beginning did not seem that we were going to get there, but we've been masterminding with other people. We have digital masterminds, virtual masterminds, I should say, and everyone get assignments and they go out and they do that and they don't come back until they're done. And then we all work together to keep each other's units filled. Because one of the biggest things right now, a lot of people are going to me and me only. I'm like, no, it's me. And I have 20 other people that decided to follow me on this journey that I need to watch out for. So it's been a really fun ride, I should say. Not a crazy ride. It's been interesting to see how far we can push our creativity during this cycle. So you guys want to know how I've been doing that. As you saw on the previous slide, I should say, these are the people I've been focusing on in the past. But as you guys see at the bottom, special events and tourism is gone. That was like 90% of my business, 100% gone. And so now what I've been doing is altering the way that I provide my essential service, because again, I am in housing. So housing is still an essential service. I'm in service and we're in real estate. So I've just altered how I provide it, and I've been going 100% after the medical community. That's traveling nurses, that's even regular local nurses and other medical professionals who are treating people in the hospitals and all these facilities, but they don't want to go home and infect their family. So we're doing a lot of local marketing to keep our units full. And of course, when all of the response comes in, I can't house everyone. So those other 20 operators that were in this with me from the beginning, I just, divided out amongst them. I was like, hey, you guys, this is a person they need, this is their monthly rate. This is what they can spend. Who is the best fit for them? And we literally, that's what my day has become, matching, doing that all day, just matching referrals up with operators, matching referrals with operators. And if there's any of you guys on the line tonight, definitely reach out to me, even if you're not in Salt Lake, because I'm doing this all over the country, right? There's a lot of us in this network doing this. So yeah, that's been my number one source now during this whole COVID pandemic, whatever you want to call it, right? And just to share a few little tips that I've been sharing on my social media within my group, just for helping people to stay occupied. You guys can read it on the screen. I'm not going to read it out to you, but these are just tips that I share. Every day, every couple days, I am trying to record content and record videos saying, hey, this is what I'm actively doing in my business and it's working, it's yielding these results. You should try it too. And people can decide if they want to or not. But I'm constantly trying to make sure that everyone makes it through this. And on the flip side, there will be people who were hobbyists that did not get educated, right? And did not make it a true business, that they will start to falter. And I'm going to be honest, I foresee my inventory doubling, if not tripling by the end of this year, because I'm going to be using the capital that I've set aside or the capital that I've raised. I didn't even talk about that, how much capital we've raised to do this. But I can use that at that point to start taking over other people's units and other people's leases to quote unquote bail them out because they were not prepared for this. So I love real estate. I love the powerful things we're able to do with it. And it's as long as we stay in the forefront and stay innovative and creative, I don't think we have anything to worry about. That's just my personal, the way I see it. And so, yeah, last slide is just contact information. You guys know who I am. Always feel free to reach out. Christian, that's all I have for you guys.
Awesome, Ladero. Well, I didn't even have to ask you the question because you answered it on your own. Staying relevant in today's marketplace is all about innovation. And so I will ask you anyways and see if there's any parting words that you want to leave. How do you stay relevant in today's marketplace?
For me, I honestly, I observe, right? That's the biggest thing. That's how I stay relevant. I'm constantly observing what's going on. As much as people are looking out at the news and they're seeing people being crazy and buying mass amounts of toilet paper and things like that, I like to go on a much deeper level and try to figure out why. Like go on a more of a more of a psychology approach to it and say, why are people doing that? This is the problem they're going to create from doing that. How can I stand in front and solve that problem? And that's the number one thing I was doing, especially with the medical field. I just saw that this was going to be a thing where people are not going to want to go home. When most of my business was relying on travel, and I was like, why am I doing that? I am literally surrounded within like 10 minutes by 7 hospitals. So I'm trying to solve, anyway, to wrap it up, to solve the problem that I see coming. That's how I stay relevant.
So curious question with that.
Yeah.
How do you keep stocked with toilet paper in all those units?
Oh, I feel embarrassed. I don't want to open this closet behind me, but literally the first day where I saw one of the NBA players get sick, I was like, something's going to go wrong. And I literally went to Amazon Business because, influencers, right? They're huge influencers. I went to Amazon Business and I ordered as many paper goods as I could, staying within a budget. And to be honest, our guests, surprisingly, do not steal. I have not put any less toilet paper, paper towels, or hand soap in any of my units than I did before this, and it's all still there.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you, Ladero. Thank you, everybody who shared. This was a powerful, powerful webinar. I know it went longer than we suspected. We were thinking somewhere around an hour and 15 minutes. We're about 30 minutes over that, so I'm not going to take a lot of time. For those of you that are already community members with us, you guys are such a blessing to me. I know for sure that I would not be where I'm at if I wasn't surrounded by all of you. For those of you who might just be watching this as a guest, you can see now there's a lot that can be done. Obviously, as we said in the beginning, there's no guarantees here. We're not trying to say that just because somebody else succeeded that you will. These results are not typical. In fact, there is no such thing as typical in real estate. It really comes down to a self-directed platform of learning, educating yourself, following direction, and surrounding yourself with people who can help you succeed. But that's what we have here. So not everybody has $28,000 that they can lay down on some education to get started, but everybody can get started. They've just got to figure out what that next step is. And so what I would suggest for you is, if you're a guest with us here today, if you're not already a part of this amazing community called Renatus, then get back with whoever invited you onto this webinar. Even if they just shared the link to you via Facebook, get back with them and say, how can I take that first step? And whether that's sitting down with them one-on-one and mapping out a strategy, or that's jumping on a webinar that we have tomorrow where we're going to have probably a few hundred people all masterminding and talking strategies in that forum. We would love to have you attend that as well. Whatever that first next step is, that's my idea of how you can stay relevant in today's market. Is what is that next best step you can take? And I don't claim that. I actually have been hearing that time and time again on many of the webinars that I've been getting on with successful investors and learning what they're doing to adapt. And every single one of them, almost anyways, every single one of these webinars I've been on, somebody has said, you just got to take that next best step. So your next best step, if you're a guest with us, get back with the person who invited you here and say, how can I become more involved in this community of real estate investors? And how can I take that next step towards real estate investing? Thank you for joining us, folks, and I will see you all soon.